Morning, everyone. I was listening to, Sasha Stone this morning, and he was talking about soul compassion with a couple of the amazing humans that are interviewing with him regularly. And they were talking about soul compassion and how there's this generalized mind control on the planet at the moment, and how we are, because there is so much fear and so much cortisol and so much division, it's stopping the way that our compassion works. It's stopping the way that our love works. It's stopping our ability to create those hormones in us that feel happy and healthy and free and loving. So, and I was thinking about, once again, I know I keep getting asked about the 999. In my map of consciousness, which has the frequency of different levels of energy, shame is in the frequency of 20 out of 1,000. So when we feel ashamed, so just say you go to the shop without your mask on, you're feeling ashamed because you don't want to go to work if you have to get it's sort of like there's so much shame where police and politicians are telling people to dob on each other. There's all this shame going on the planet, and you can see it on the media, you can see it on the platforms. Anyway, so it's 20. Whereas enlightenment, openness, being awake, that's 700 to 1,000. Totally different frequencies. Guilt is down at 30. Peace is at about 600. Being calm in the middle without any particular anything going on below, and anything is about 200. So 200 is about where we start to feel okay. Even if we're not feeling angry and fearful and frustrated on a daily basis. But this map of consciousness can be about anything going on the planet. And as you can see from the little map of the brain stem comes up. Yesterday I was talking about flipping your lid. So the brain stem, that's this little bit here. The rear of the brain that I often talk about is this little bit here. It's the primitive brain. It's the survival patterns. It's those parts of the brain that want to keep you safe. So I was also listening to Kerwin Ray this morning. He has some really powerful, energizing information. And he talks about, there's been some studies that show cortisol. So cortisol's one of those hormones we release under stress. Cortisol it can reduce our IQs by up to 50%. Now, what's interesting to me is that as adults, as we get older, the only hormone that goes up as we get older is cortisol. Interesting. So we need to keep bringing ourselves back into peace. We need to keep our breathing. We need to keep being conscious. We need to keep having empathy. We need to keep looking at things from other perspectives, because if we're only looking at things from our perspective, we're being selfish. It's being selfish. So we need to be able to open our minds and look at other perspectives so that we can be a human. Humanity is about love. Humanity is about peace. Humanity is about freedom. So this little visualization, I'm going to be using the 999, 999, 999, because cortisol brings us down into shame and blame and guilt and fear. It brings us down into those negative vibes where our brain shuts down. And one of the things I learned many, many years ago is that when your cortisol is high, your short-term memory shuts down. So people who say, I think I'm losing my mind, when they've been under stress for a year or two, I say, well, how was it before then? And sometimes it was absolutely fine before a big load of stress. Imagine what 2020 has done to people. The stats on the extra amounts of anti-anxiety, antidepressant drugs is huge. The amount of suicides is huge, although most governments are hiding those statistics. They don't want us to know that the lockdowns are killing people. So they're hiding that information. It's like we're all under a spell. It's like we're all under we're malfunctioning as human beings. We need hugs, we need love, we need freedom, we need tenderness, we need caring. There's these stupid videos out there where people are wearing masks to breastfeed their children. There's these stupid videos out there where it's not okay to hug people in your own house. I do not consent. I do not consent. This is not the world I want to live in. Soul compassion, world peace. This is going to be the crowning glory of the universe if people can wake up and see that we're all connected. We need to invite those angelic beings into our lives. We need to feel gratitude. Gratitude opens up your logical and creative hemispheres of the brain. Every day, if you think, what are 3 things I'm grateful for today? And write them down in a little book. What your brain starts to do, and this has been proven, what your brain starts to do over a period of time is becomes more alive. So that frontal cortex that shuts down under stress, it starts to be alive and conscious more of the time. Because as you're going through your day, you don't want to write the same 3 things down in your book every night, because then you feel like a twat. So when we have gratitude, and you sort of think, okay, so I don't want to say, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my kids, I'm grateful for my partner, I'm grateful for my job, I'm grateful for, the cash that I have in the bank. You don't want to say any of that every single day. I'm grateful for the fact that I have a bed. I'm grateful for the fact, I know, so it's about putting things into perspective so that on the next day, your brain actually starts looking at things you hadn't looked at before, purely because it wants to find something new to be grateful for, which means it's opening up the frontal cortex. It's activating those oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine neurotransmitters, because it wants you to see the beauty in the world. Your brain wants to see beauty. Your brain wants to see health and happiness and joy and peace. But if we've grown up in a world where that's not okay, because you found if you were one of those little human beings who was running on cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline, adrenochrome when you were young, those awful traumatic neurotransmitters from when you were tiny because things weren't safe, then you're a classic ACEs study person, and that can change your genes. Doesn't mean you can't survive from that, but it means that it's a little bit harder work. So bringing ourselves back into peace, bringing ourselves back into, being connected to the trillions of species on the planet. Because when you take into the fact that, okay, yep, there's humans, but then there's our microbiome. Thousands and thousands of different varieties of bacteria in our gut. Generally about 2 kilos of bacteria in our body. That's all about health. That's when they get out of kilter, of course, they cause disease. But they get out of kilter because of poor diets, because of antibiotics, because of stress, because of medications, because of things that upset our immune system. So, and then you take into the biome. So I heard Dr. Zach Bush say the other day that there are more viruses in our body than there are stars in the galaxy. And I just loved that, because he said something to the power of 64, or he made some, mathematical smarty pants comment. I just thought, that doesn't mean anything. And then the interviewer said to him, well, what does that mean? And he said, there's more viruses than there in our bodies than there are stars in the galaxy. And I just went, wow, that's pretty cool. So that's what this, obviously, I've chatted too long. If you're still here at the end, see you in a minute. Otherwise, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, see you in a minute.